Hello and welcome everyone to our Connected AU Book Club chat. I'm Leah and we are delighted to be joined by the talented Kate Solly, author of this month's book, The Paradise Heights Craft Store Stitch Up. Kate's books are widely appreciated for their complex characters, rich storytelling, and exploration of important social themes. The Paradise Heights Craft Store Stitch Up brings together mystery, craft, and the ever evolving journey of motherhood, all while exploring themes of neurodiversity, friendship, and personal identity. Kate has created a truly immersive world in Paradise Heights that captivates readers with its puzzles, quirky characters, and heartfelt moments of connection. Kate manages to balance writing with her passion for neurodivergence, crafting, and making sure she finds a time for a little bit of mystery solving herself. In addition to Kate's work as an author, she's a mother of six, amazing, and much of her writing reflects her personal journey as a parent, grappling with themes of identity, balance, and self care amidst the often chaotic demands of family life. Kate, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Leah.
You're very welcome. We're very excited to have this chat. Let's dive in and start chatting about the Paradise Heights Craft Store Stitch Up. I might call it Paradise Heights to just
Yeah.
at the heart of the story is a very compelling mystery, but it also feels like a celebration of creativity and community. Can you share what the inspiration was behind the concept and like why crafting is, quite a central theme?
I'm a big fan of crafting myself. My poison of choice is crochet. I love to crochet.
I love that. Okay.
And I'm someone who I like to be able to do something with my hands.
Yes.
So my first book is all about crochet. And when I wrote my second one, I wanted to include a little bit of that as well, because I just enjoyed writing about it. So Paradise Heights, the idea, Fleck Parker as a character came to me when I was deep in the middle of writing the first book. And sometimes when you're deep in the middle of a project, you get to the point where it's sort of you've almost had enough of it. And that's when this, seductive new idea came along of this mum detective. I thought, oh, that'd be good. Maybe I should write that instead. I'm like, no, I'm in a committed relationship. Don't flirt with that idea yet. Commit to this one.
To
So
this one.
I was already thinking of it while I was writing the first one. It was in my mind, and it was
Brewing.
such a good that it hung around.
Yes.
I think I got it from there were two places, and one makes me sound really clever, and the other one maybe not so much. But there was an article on This American Life, me listening to this intelligent podcast about this idea, and the same topic was also on Dr. Phil, which
Okay.
I like to have lunch and feed the baby and watch as well.
Yes.
But they were both about soccer mom PIs, and how soccer moms are so good at solving crimes because no one really notices them and
Yes.
no one suspects them. And I thought, oh, that'd be good to have a mum with young kids to be a private investigator.
Yeah.
And so that's when the seed of the idea came. And then I gradually got to know the characters and it all sort of came together. And the craft bit came in a bit later.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
as well. I thought, oh, that would make it a
Very
nice place to be and cozy.
clever. And I love it. You're right.
Go
It's
with what
fun
you know.
to have, like the protagonist that is like sort of an inconspicuous soccer mom, although she's not a soccer mom in this one, but it's very clever. Yeah. And it's
Not much.
nice. It's something different as well. So well done. Your writing really delves into some deeply human themes as well. You know, you talk about neurodiversity. Oh, I'm so sorry. And the complexities of motherhood. How do you balance weaving such a compelling mystery with exploring social themes as well? Was that a tricky balance to strike?
It was the mystery part of it was the writing about domesticity. That's something it comes to me quite to write about the nuts and bolts of life. And the more suburban and mundane, the better. That's what I love. I find but this time around I wanted to write history, and it was a bit tricky. I always want to write this sort of book I want to read. And
Yes.
nostalgic with this one because the sort of book I wanted to read when I first started reading was Nancy Drew, The Famous Five. And I just remembered that joy I got from finding what I hadn't read yet, and the mystery, and you know, wanting to solve the puzzle. And so that was what I wanted to set out to do with this one. So I think that was something new that I was learning, and I always love to talk about family life, and I can't help talking about social issues when they crop
Mm.
up. So they end up in there as well, whether I mean to or not.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it keeps it interesting, and yeah, it appeals, and it's wonderful that you do that. I know that you did a little bit of ADHD research for this novel, and you discovered that you yourself had some ADHD traits.
Yeah,
And I believe that you eventually went and got an official diagnosis.
that's
However,
right.
in the book, Fleck remains undiagnosed for the whole
Mm,
story.
mm.
What led you to keep her undiagnosed? Why did you decide to keep that ADHD portrayal that way?
That was a deliberate choice. I think for so many ADHDers, diagnosis is inaccessible.
Mm.
And I wanted for women who are all ADHDers, but especially women my age who are starting to question whether they have ADHD or whether they're self-diagnosed, or those sorts of issues,
Mm.
to still feel recognized. We have Trixie, who is diagnosed ADHD, but I wanted to have a character who is probably ADHD, uh, but she has not had an official diagnosis, because sometimes to get diagnosed, you kind of need to not be ADHD. It requires a lot of executive function. It requires a lot of chasing up and filling out forms, which we find very boring. And there are so many barriers to getting to that point. I was already researching ADHD anyway, because I had some suspicions about myself. I
Okay.
thought using Fleck was kind of liberating in a way. It was kind of like therapy for me. Lots of writing is therapy. But being an ADHD, there's a lot about myself I mask and I hide because I want to come across as normal or as neurotypical. And
Okay.
I was able to give those traits that I hide in myself to Fleck, and just sort of unmask in that way, uh,
Yeah.
as a sort of a trial. Uh,
Okay.
and so I found that very liberating.
Yes.
Mm.
I really love how you portrayed ADHD as well as both a challenge. So she definitely struggles with things like the laundry and the school runs, and the mornings are really rough. But it can also be a superpower, and it really enhanced her ability as a detective,
Mm.
and in some ways as a mother. How has your experience with ADHD, has it given you any superpowers, or has it helped you in any unexpected ways, do you think?
I definitely think there is strength in neurodivergence, and I would say that I do have it's been a process of coming to know that I do have things that are strengths
Yeah.
that a neurotypical mum or a neurotypical writer might not have, and that's reassuring. I stop short, I think, sometimes of calling it a superpower, because I
Right.
worry that some people might think that I'm being dismissive, that it isn't a real something that needs accommodation.
Struggle with.
Yeah,
Yes.
it can be
Yes.
definitely struggle.
Yes.
It is both. I sometimes
Mhm.
call it a secret weapon.
Yeah.
And it's my secret weapon, except it's not always a convenient weapon. It's like a confetti cannon that could go off at any time. And sometimes a confetti cannon is really helpful. Like if, I don't know, you have a party or something, that's helpful.
You
So
know, that's
yeah,
super helpful analogy. And you're right, because it can be debilitating. It can be used to help with certain things. So I think that's a really good way to perceive it as, yeah, that can of confetti. So yes. Were you always aware that it was something that you may have had, or did motherhood trigger you looking into
it,
the symptoms and stuff?
it's definitely been more recent that I've looked at ADHD in general. I've always known that there's something going on with me. And it's been a relief to know what it is, and to know strategies, and to know, look,
Mm.
I've always known why can I never get a system to be organized? These systems that work for everyone else. I can even remember at high school a teacher just saying, just write, just use this planner. I've got this special planner, use this planner. And I just couldn't. Like, and
Right.
I'm like, and so what I used to call lazy, scattered, easily distracted, all those things,
Mm.
that, negative words that I had for myself, now I understand is, they're just, I have a different brain type. And that is
Yes.
that's really nice, you know, to know that, okay, I have a different brain type. There are
Yep.
others like me. And
Yes.
we can be successful, and you know, we can be great, and we can be great parents as well.
Well, clearly you've mastered that.
Well, just
Yeah.
producing the kids isn't enough to be a great parent, unfortunately. I wish it were that easy.
Having six, you are, yeah. You must have navigated the parenthood journey with some sort of ease, and
Oh,
but yeah, no, it's great that you've got that awareness that you're not alone, and
yeah.
now you've probably been better equipped with how to manage certain things that come along with ADHD once you got your diagnosis as well. So
It has helped definitely to talk to other ADHD women and to understand, oh, okay, that thing that all of the neurotypicals are saying you have to do to be organized, that
Mm,
doesn't work for us. And this
right,
weird thing that's a really odd, creative way to be organized, that does, you know. If I know, for example, if I spill my coffee in the car and there's coffee everywhere, what will happen usually is I'll go, oh, coffee in the car. Oh no, I got to clean that up. And I go inside, and then the car no longer exists and the coffee no longer exists until I go back to the car and go, oh, gross, there's coffee in the car and it smells. Oh, what do I do? When I go back home, I got to clean it. And this happens and repeats. Now I
yes.
know if I sing about what's happening in the car as I'm coming inside and don't let anyone interrupt me, I'm like, sponge,
Mm,
sponge, you need a sponge, you need a sponge, you need, and
yeah,
keep singing that
yes,
until it's clean or
yeah,
get clean. But that's, you know, weird
yeah.
ways like that will work for me.
Right.
Whereas
That's spectacular. A song, like I love that. How cool is that? Because
if I
yeah,
have to go from one room to another, because
yes.
once I've left the room, once it's out of my line of vision, it ceases to
Mm,
exist.
yeah. But to
Um,
sing a song about it just keeps triggering memories. That's
and
really
kids will
wonderful.
come up to me and ask questions, and I just sing sponge aggressively at them until they go away.
Can't talk.
They're like, oh, mum's being weird again.
I mean, that sounds so simple, but obviously has, very helpful repercussions. So yeah, it's great that you discovered that.
I've
Um,
learned not to reject things that things are weird. I can't do them. If it's weird, that's fine. I need to have weird strategies sometimes.
Right. Let's just talk about motherhood for another minute. I love that Fleck is definitely navigating the challenges of motherhood, and
Mm,
I'm a mother of three. I can totally relate to her struggle with identity.
mm.
Just constantly juggling family life with trying to hold on to a sense of herself. Did any of that mirror your own sort of experience with motherhood? Was that?
Absolutely. You could almost read the Paradise House Craft Store Stitch Up and
Mm,
if you replace Fleck with me, and I don't have luscious red curly hair, but replace her with me and replace detective work with writing. It's
yes.
very much like my story that I
Mhm.
uh, was in a situation where I was feeling like I don't know what I even like to do anymore. I don't know, like, I've been given this time.
Mm,
My mum is very much the sort of person who would say, I want you to do something for yourself.
yep.
I don't know what that is. Like,
Yep.
I don't really want to get my nails done or any of those
Mm,
things that people look like to do.
yep.
And because you're so deep in it, you sort of forget. And for a while I thought, well, the thing I like to do is sleep, but that's
Yes.
not really
A
something
hobby.
like, I mean, that's not a hobby.
Right.
And so it took me a while to work out what is the thing I like to do.
Mm.
And
Is
so
that
for
how
me,
you
writing, yeah.
experienced yeah, crocheting? Were you deliberate about looking for hobbies?
Yes,
Or
crochet kind of I reckon that was a nesting instinct
mm,
that got out of control. So
okay.
I was pregnant with my and ADHD is a big at taking on hobbies. I was pregnant with my second child, who is now 17 years old.
Yes.
And I saw it was my mother-in-law had these magazines, and it was a Better Homes and Gardens crochet special. And I saw it and I'm like, I want to do this. I need to do this, and I need to do it right now. I need to make this
Mm,
happen. And I'm pretty sure Nola actually gave me a hook, like in that. I
okay.
don't think I've got one of those. And I was just,
Hooked.
and I was hooked. It took
Yeah.
over. And I discovered, bloggers. And that's possibly what got me onto writing, because I would read crochet blogs.
Okay.
And then I was like, I think I might like to write a blog of my own. And if you
Mm,
look, I've got this, I don't update anymore, but I've got an old blog. And if you look at my early posts, I'm trying very hard to be a crochet blogger, and it's not in me. And I discovered that the thing I do better than posting about half-finished crochet projects is talking about oh, here's what happened. Like, this is what happened to me at the supermarket, and oh my gosh, it was such a fail. Um,
Yes.
and that was where I sort of found my writing voice in blogging.
Okay.
Mm.
That's amazing. And do you find it easier when you're writing about a character that, you can relate to, like Fleck, who you said sort of mirrors you a little bit?
Mm.
Is that easier for you to write that character, or is it harder because, it's delving into your personal thoughts and
Mm.
experiences?
Yes. Fleck is a lot like me. There are definitely differences. And it can be a bit vulnerable at times. Like Claire is a lot like me in Tuesday
Mm.
evenings. And I read a review that said, "Oh, I love the book, but that Claire, ugh, she's just a bit of a train wreck." And
Right.
I was like, train wreck, train wreck, train wreck. Like, and that
Right.
morning we were late to school and everything. I was like, it's because I'm a train wreck. That's why. And so,
Right.
so there's that vulnerability of putting yourself out there,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
people can
It can
reject
haunt
that.
you afterwards.
They're
Yeah.
allowed to.
Mm.
Um, so I found writing characters like Trixie in this book, and Meredith in that book, characters who just say it, and they are very outspoken and say what's on their mind. And I find that quite liberating because I'm not like that in real life. I find it
Okay.
very hard to say if something's bothering me. I'm
Mhm.
too much of a people pleaser. So to write
Okay.
someone who isn't a people pleaser is lots of fun because they just say it, you know?
Yes. Yeah. And I do love that Trixie did not hold back. I
Oh
think,
no.
yeah. And I wanted to be friends with her. I thought,
She's
yeah,
great.
she would be very fun. So another sort of theme is bonding over, and forming friendships and connections over sort of a shared, in this instance, love of sort of crafting, or they become closer while they're Trixie's teaching, I guess,
Mm, mm.
like how to crochet and things like that. Um, have you had any personal experiences where a hobby has helped you build, I guess, a meaningful relationship?
Do you know, I would say not really. In that when I first started crocheting, I didn't know anyone who in real life who crocheted. I suppose I did build meaningful relationships online with
Yeah.
crocheters around the globe, but it wasn't big 17 years ago the way it's become now. I think
Mm.
lockdown helped that a lot. Um, but my friendship with Trixie is very much modeled on mum friends that I have. Um, Trixie's situation is very similar to the situation of a very close friend of mine. I actually asked her permission when I started to write her, because she's a widow and our sons are friends, and in those ways, I
Yeah.
changed the personalities of the sons, and now Trixie's
Right.
personality is quite different from my friend's personality as well. But because I was starting with that same situation, I'm like, can I write about someone in your situation? And she's like,
Mm.
yeah, go for it, you know. Um, but I needed to make her quite different
Yes.
because otherwise I'd be thinking it was my friend.
Yeah.
But the whole like getting stuck with the boys climbing the tree and you want to go home and they're stuck up the tree, or hiding the biscuits under the brochures so the kids don't come and bother you for them. All of that is just straight out of our relationship,
Right.
and some other friends
Yeah.
that I have, that's
Mhm.
just our sitting in the mess and chatting over a cup of tea. Um,
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
that's real life. Yeah.
Which is great. I think it's great to have the relatable elements woven into a mystery book because,
Mm.
it's also elements where these things don't happen to everybody. I won't ruin the ending for anybody who hasn't finished the book yet, but it's great, I think, to have sort of those really relatable elements in there as well that are like everybody has experienced, or every mother would be like, oh, she's writing my life right now. Um, yeah. And, I think a lot of the story is inspired by real world, people and places. Was there any specific research that you had to conduct when you were writing this book? Especially, I'd love to know about, the financial crime and, the workings of nonprofits.
Yes, the workings of so the financial crime, I am very lucky that one of my friends at the school gate is an accountant.
Ah, okay.
And he was at one point, we're sitting our girls like to play Harry Potter together. And so they're in these elaborate games and they play Harry Potter and they pretend to be Death Eaters. It's a bit disturbing. But anyway, they're playing after school, and he's drawing me flowcharts of like financial crime and things like that.
Wow.
Half of it I didn't really understand, but that was really helpful in understanding how how it might have happened, and how the one crime might have happened, and then the crime that it's being
Mm.
covered up, the two different crimes might have happened.
Yes.
As far as the inner workings of charities go, I've been like, now I've got to be careful. I have been on the board of Carolyn Chisholm Society,
Okay.
and they are very scrupulous in
Okay. The opposite.
the opposite. So I don't want to say like, 'cause I'm like in I don't want to say, oh, I got the idea for, a dodgy
Right.
charity from, no,
Yes.
it's in seeing the
How
hard
scrupulous
work
they
that
are.
they go in being
Yes.
transparent, that I think, oh, what would happen if they didn't have these checks and balances in place?
Yes.
And it piques my curiosity.
Yeah.
And I've also worked with a similarly scrupulous charity, St Vincent de Paul, as well. I worked for them
Oh,
years,
okay. Yes. Yes.
and so I see the structures that are in place. But I've also worked in organizations, volunteer organizations, where there is that, no, this is the way it's always been done. No, we
Hmm.
don't need any of that stuff. We don't need policies and procedures. No, we don't need to be bogged down by policies and procedures. We've always done it this way. And also, old Joe over here has always done the books, and we trust him, and it's just his job, and he's, 90 years old, and he's the one who does it. That's
Certainly.
I'm not naming anyone in particular. That's just,
Yes.
but I've heard that such places might exist.
Okay.
Friend
Yeah.
of a friend told me.
Okay. Yes. And you could say
And yeah.
they run into trouble, I suppose, when
Yes, I could see how
they're
that
not.
could run into trouble.
Got
Um,
it.
so
Yeah, excellent. And I'd love to know for this book in particular, because it definitely has a great plot twist at the end. Did you, when you started writing, know how the book was going to end, or did you just start writing and then it just took you by surprise as well, where it ended up?
I had an idea of where it was going to end, definitely. I knew who not to trust. And
Mm,
I had an idea, but the actual mechanics of it, um, the finer details came later of
okay.
what is going to lead her to these discoveries. How is she going to, and what is the setting going to be? How can I make it really,
Mm,
deliciously scary? And that was the other thing I was careful about. I wanted it to be scary, but I needed it to be deliciously scary, and not
mhm.
traumatically scary, because I want it to be a cozy mystery. So that was important to
Yes.
me.
Yeah. No, and I think you did nail that. Who is your go-to person when you've got a first draft? Do you just go straight to the publisher, or do you go to a partner or a parent, or do you have?
Well, I don't let my husband read it until it's done. But
Wow. Okay.
I
Yeah.
know I know some people say they go straight to their
Yeah.
partner. I'm like, no, I want it to be done.
Finished. Yeah.
And I'm a bit like that with my mum as well, because I want
Okay.
her to read it and get the surprises and things like that. My sisters are my go-to, and even to the point that when I'm stuck, I
Mm,
sometimes will voice message them and say, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this situation. I need to get my character over here, but I don't know what's
mm.
going to prompt them to want to go there, but they need to go there to have this conversation. How? Oh, but then, no, I can't work that. It's not going to, oh, hang on, I've got it. That's all right. Thanks, girls. I've got it. Thank you so much for your help. And that's the whole voice message.
Right.
They're
And
like, we didn't help you, Kate. I'm like,
got
no,
it.
you did.
Yes.
But sometimes they would. I'd get voice messages back and say, "Oh,
Mhm.
what about this?" And
Yeah.
they're just really good sounding boards. Just even
Yeah.
imagining that they're listening helps me.
It helps you clear your mind a little bit and
Yes.
get there. That's excellent. And just on your writing process, I know lots of authors sort of struggle with writer's block from time to time. How would you navigate sort of a challenging moment with writer's block? Is that like a voice memo to your sisters? Um, and what would your advice be for any, aspiring writers out there who are struggling with getting their thoughts onto paper?
Absolutely. I think there are different sorts of and different reasons to be blocked. And so sometimes it is that you need to eat something, you need to drink some water, you need to have a nap,
Mm.
all those sorts of things. Sometimes it helps to talk it out. If the reason you're stuck is because there's a plot problem, talking it through might help. It will also depend on you. Sometimes it might be a confidence issue. You think, oh, I'm no good. I'm a terrible writer. I can never do this. I reckon maybe the way out of that is just to write. A lot of
Yeah.
the way out of writing block is to write, and to write something stupid. Just write a terrible page. Just write.
Hmm.
And I like the image of a spout of water and it's blocked up with all this gunk and leaves and grossness. And you've got
Hmm.
to write that stuff out to clear the pipe, and then the clear water will run through. Um,
Awesome. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll write, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what this scene is. I don't even know. And I write around the scene. I know that I want this to happen, but I don't know how. And I'm writing all those words down. And then
Hmm.
eventually something clicks into place, and then I'm writing the scene, and then I just chop off
It's there.
top bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. I've heard people talk about, Sandy Docker talks about wearing a tiara to get out
Mm.
of this block,
Okay.
which I love. And
Yeah.
even sometimes if I need a fresh perspective, in my, I even still sometimes write in the car. And if I drive to a different parking spot, and that can help, like a change of scene, or I'm writing in the cafe instead of at the desk, or
Yes.
writing somewhere different can help too. Or going
Yeah.
for a run. Geez,
Going for
that's
it.
a
Yeah.
lot.
Okay. Yep. So just get moving in
Mm,
one way or the other.
definitely.
Don't stagnate and just keep waiting for something to
Don't say, oh,
inspire.
I'm in writer's block, I can't do anything now.
Yeah.
I'm stuck.
Okay.
Oh
Yeah.
well.
Okay. And when did you first decide to pursue writing? So was it later? Was it I think you said you started with a crochet blog, is or was
Yes, or
it something you always kind of envisioned?
even before that, I would write. So, I mean, I've always wanted to be in the center of attention. I'm one of a large family, so I have 5 brothers and sisters, and we lived home with my mum and dad and grandma as well. And so, trying to hold their attention at the dinner table with the best story was always a sport for me.
Uh-huh.
And that became later, before instant messaging. Now we've got, a family thread that's always popping off, but we would write group emails. Like back in the day of group emails,
Yes.
would write a group email, and my siblings would write, that they were in Cambodia and this is what happened. And, my sister was in the Solomons, and they'd write these really interesting travel tales. And I would
Yeah.
write back and I'd say, this is what happened to me today in Aldi or at Kmart. And I'd tell these
Right.
anecdotes about the kids. And they liked that, and they said that should become a blog. And so that sort of gradually led to a blog. But the funny thing about the emails was, my dad's name is Alan Walter, and his
Okay.
email was Alan R. Walter. But somewhere in that group of emails, there was an Alan Walter at whatever it was.com.
The R dropped out. Oh
And
no.
the R dropped out. And we got this email back, group email back, saying, I don't know what the fruit you guys are talking about. Except he didn't say fruit. I don't know what
Yeah.
the fruit you guys are talking about, but stop emailing me. Like, geez, there's an angry Ellen out there somewhere.
Oh, how hilarious is
It
that?
was great. Well, and we still talk about, our long lost
Angry
family member.
Alan. Yeah.
Angry Ellen.
Perhaps you could email him one day and say, I'm a published author now.
Yeah, you were getting all
Those
that for
emails
free,
might have
sir.
been entertaining. Exactly. That's awesome. Um, and so what has there been something that's been really rewarding now that you are a published author? Anything that has been rewarding? Or any, and I'd love to also on the flip side know what you found most challenging about being a published author.
I reckon meeting the writing community has been just a beautiful part of being published. And I mean, I know you don't have to be published to go to events and meet people, but for me, that's sort of how it evolved. And so
Mm.
I've made friends with some beautiful writers and bookstagrammers and bookshop owners and librarians, and it's just, there's book people are the best people, for sure. And so meeting people and meeting readers is just, I love meeting readers.
Yeah.
So that has been one of the great things. I think one of the more challenging things would be second book syndrome. That idea that, like, I did it, but now I've got to write another one. And what if the first one was a fluke? What if I can't do it? And what if I'm letting
Yeah.
all these beautiful readers I've met and I've fallen in love with? What if I let them all down? And that those thoughts are hard.
Mm.
That's been one of the harder things about being in this situation. But most of it is just, how good is it? It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do have to ask about the cover. The book cover is sensational. It is, I think it's just very beautiful. And I think you can tell it's going to be a cozy sort of book just by looking at it. Did you have much input in that cover?
I can take no credit. We have
Ah.
really talented graphic designers that a firm uses.
Yes.
I can take credit in saying I think it looks lovely, and I love the budgie,
Yeah.
but I'm not the artist who did it.
Okay. Yeah. No, that could possibly be framed as it's just beautiful. So yeah.
My one thing that I did do is I noticed that it was a pair of binoculars on the cover, and the binoculars are mentioned in the book, but it was a scene because we're in the middle of edits,
Yeah.
and I decided to cut a section that wasn't working. I cut it, and
Right.
that was a section that had the binoculars in it. And then I was like, oh, and then I realized that the part that involved the binoculars, which was a bit of an argument with the kids, I could lift that up and put it in another scene that needed a bit more oomph, and it would
Yes.
still work because
Yep.
I just changed the setting for them to have the
Mm.
argument. And so that's like my only connection to the cover, is that I
Binoculars.
reinstated the binoculars.
I love it. Great. I'm just going to ask if any members have a question for you, Kate. And while I just wait to see that, I just wanted to ask, who do you enjoy reading and what do you enjoy reading? I know you said you used to like Nancy Drew. Do you still like Nancy Drew? Are there other
Oh, look,
authors or authors that you gravitate towards?
look, Nancy Drew is great and all. I went back when I first started writing this. I'm like, I'll go back and read some Nancy Drews and see if I can recreate that feeling. It unfortunately doesn't hold up in the same way. I got to say, look, bless Nancy Drew, but these days I mean, I love chatty fiction.
Yeah.
And so I love like, I'm just looking at the books behind me, Toni
Mm.
Jordan, Emma Gray, Emma Gray's, yeah, and Karen Main, so many writers, Marion Keyes.
Yeah.
And as far as cozy fiction, cozy crime, I love Amanda Hampson and Richard Osman. But yeah, when that's it. We talk about challenges of being published. I've
Yeah.
named some people. Oh, Sandy Docker, I love. Now I'm like, who haven't I named? I've got so many, I've got
Right.
some beautiful friends. I haven't named them. What am I going to do?
Yeah. That's the tricky thing. Yeah.
Mm.
You have to
But
be careful. Yeah. What I guess your voice is a little bit more amplified and yeah. It doesn't look like we've got any questions. Can you tell us what you are working on next? Is there anything that you're thinking about or any projects that you're about to undertake or anything that you've started writing?
yes, I am writing another Fleck Parker mystery.
Oh, amazing. She's back. It did leave
She's
us with a
back.
cliffhanger, so that's amazing. Yes.
Yes, and this one I'm going with the working title of The Paradise Heights Railway Bus Stop, because
Oh, okay.
something has gone awry at the miniature railway where
Yeah.
Matthew is, and it's up to Fleck to work out what's going on. It
That's
might
it.
turn out to be something more than anyone bargained for.
Oh, and how long did it take you to write the craft store stitch up? Was that like a lengthy writing process or?
It took a couple of years, I would
Mm.
say. It's hard because there's overlap. So I was already working on it when I was sending the first book out to beta
Right.
readers, to my publisher and all
Yes.
that sort of thing.
Yes.
And then when I wasn't working on edits for the book, I was working on it. So there was a little bit of overlap there, but not solid working on it. But yeah, there was a lot, and then the edits is more work as well. When you're working on
Yes.
tightening it up and making sure the mystery works as a mystery. I was on a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we cannot wait to see the announcement that this book is out. So keep us posted. And yeah, thank you so much for chatting with us tonight. It has been
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure. You are so interesting and fun, and we all loved the book. I think it's just a wonderful read, and it was great to hear a little bit about your journey and yeah, your personal connections that have been woven into the book. So good luck finishing the next book, and yes, take care, everybody. Thank you.
you.
Bye.